Okay, this presentation is all about flying changes. Flying changes is the first movement that you've got to introduce when you've got the horse going in a confident, forward, basic way. And it's the, if you like, the bridge you've got to cross before you start being a little more advanced. Up until the flying changes, you can just do things well, but not really be termed starting to address more advanced training. The flying change occurs naturally in the paddock, and usually it occurs when there's a hike in the horse's emotion. The flying change naturally happens when the horse is excited or frightened. It's a natural movement, but when you're riding it, you cannot afford to have it with, you know, a flush of emotion, being excited or frightened. Any time the horse is frightened, you know, you're on a bad wicket. Your horse has got to be confident and trying to interact on its intellectual level with what idea you're trying to get across to it. They've got to be trying to perceive whatever it is that you're trying to train. So when you're training flying changes, it is potentially nasty, because it will, all of its own accord, no matter how correctly you train and produce the flying changes, it is likely to spike the horse's emotion. And part of that is it is likely to spike fear if you're not clever. I will do, as a rule, one flying change to the left, or attempt a flying change to the left, attempt a flying change to the right. Initially, that's all I will do. I will always do flying changes on the straight. I hate doing them from one side to the other side, because what happens then when you flick them over, they put a front leg out so as they don't lose balance. And that usually means they put a front leg out, and then the hind leg is an after the fact consideration, and they're usually late behind. Now, make no mistake, you can train horses to be late behind. I think if you watch the show jumping world, I would think 95% of the show jumpers are late behind, and that's because they've trained them to go, when they want to turn left, they do a flying change. Well, that encourages the horse to be late behind. As a show jumper, it doesn't matter. The horse changes. They can stay balanced and still be late behind, and they can then present to the next fence in an organised and orderly fashion. So I don't think the show jumpers care about it being late behind. If you watch the horses in the paddock, I think once again, flying changes in the paddock, you're talking about 85%, 90% of them will be late behind. So you're quite welcome to say, well, the natural way for a horse to do a flying change is to go late behind. And you're not going to get me arguing. The only thing is, as a dressage rider, you have no choice. You can't even start to enter that debate. You've got to do clean changes. So I personally will try very much not to do it, sort of making the horse swing over from one side to the other, because it's likely to encourage the horse to be late behind. So I come down the long side